All right, we're here with Merv. How are you, man? Thanks for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to get here and get chatting to yourself.
Yeah, I've never actually really had to talk to you before, besides the heel hooks, your heel hook seminar. Yeah, or not the heel hook seminar.
Just the class. Yeah.
About the class, that was good. I've always tried to do heel hooks when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, but I could never land them. And I remember that it's not. You were telling me that you were trying to do them in one of your MMA matches, but you kept trying to get them on the.
Yeah, like up the forearm and just wrong position, and it just never going to finish.
How do you hold them there, though? That's what I want to know. How do you hold them in that position? Because I try to do it and people roll out of it.
Generally, it's just about keeping your knees tight, like always pinching the knees, and if you can control like the back of their knee, pulling it in. It's just like a lot of practice. It took like I said, I lost a fight just because wasn't finishing it right, but after the fight went back and really nailed in the leg lock game. Yeah. So I spent quite a lot of time working it.
So what's your background in martial arts? How did you get started in all this?
I started martial arts when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I started with like traditional style jiu-jitsu, like Japanese style jiu-jitsu.
That's what I heard,
Yeah, so it was quite cool. My coach growing up, like real badass. Just like type of guy that like takes no crap, you know, like like hard. It's like that's just what you do and that's it. So yeah, started with him like super young. I had my first fight then when I was about 7, and then just pretty much competed then my whole life up until I moved to Dubai. Then I stopped competing when I moved here just to focus a lot more on coaching. So yeah, my like Alan, the coach growing up, my sensei, he like had his own style, so it was a lot like different than your average traditional jiu-jitsu. Like he came from like an aikido background. He was a judo black belt and he kickboxed. So I had such a good mix of like all these other martial arts, even though I was just studying like his martial art, you know. So yeah, quite a lot of my game was on the ground. It's quite a lot of the competitions we done were just like grappling competitions. But back then in Ireland there was like no such thing as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You know, like we'd never heard of it. There was just like that type of Jiu-Jitsu, and that's what it was. And like there was Thai Jitsu, I done Jiu-Jitsu. It's like so many different styles of like break-offs of Jiu-Jitsu, but then like one club would have just like put on a competition like every 2 months, like different competitions here or there. So you were fighting guys that had like slightly different styles all the time, which was good. I mean, it made me really like versatile. And then from there, I didn't actually have any boxing fights, but I trained at a boxing gym for quite a while. When I was like 13, so I was pretty much jiu-jitsu the whole time to them, but like we done striking and stuff like that. So yeah, boxed for a few years and just training. Then I started working with a boxing coach, just like 1-to-1 rather than going to like boxing classes. And then when I was like 15, I opened my own. 16. I opened my own gym in Ireland. Yeah. Not a gym, a club. So like in Ireland, there isn't very many like big full-time martial arts clubs. It's like you rent a hall and you put your mats down and you teach your class. So yeah, I was teaching from I was like 16, like on my own. I was coaching like kids and stuff from I was like 13, 14. My teacher, he like taught me, like he broke me in like one night it was like doing the warm up. The next night it was like teaching someone kids how to armbar, and then the next night it was like, I'll break down this move, teach the hip throws, like, so it was like a nice progression for me into like the teaching, but at the same time I was always like competing, and then had my own team. Then sort of had a few guys at that stage. Then I'd found out about MMA, so I was training MMA plus coaching my like traditional style jiu-jitsu. Started to move away from the gi work because I found it was like quite impractical for most people wanted to do MMA. And like all the guys, like jiu-jitsu competitions weren't very popular back then, and I was getting more, like, there was more chance of getting an MMA fight than there would have been to go to like a jiu-jitsu championships. And then a lot of the jiu-jitsu stuff in Ireland, like when it comes to sport jiu-jitsu, it's semi-contact, which is a very vague line because you go out and you're like supposed to control your shots, but there's guys get knocked out, like the same. And then depending where you're fighting, like you could be fighting in some different city, and like you're going nice and light, and all of a sudden the guy like hits you super hard, and the referee say nothing, you hit him back that hard, you get points deducted from you. So it's like very controversial that way. So for me, MMA full contact stuff works the best. There's like there's no cheating or lying. Like you can't pretend you're a world champion. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the misconceptions that I had. I came into jiu-jitsu. I mean, I did a documentary on Slim first. But that was about when I was back in school. And I was just sold on, what he says and stuff like that. Eaten by small sharks is what I remember him saying. And I was like, oh, okay. But then I got into it. I got a little bit more knowledgeable. And I was like, well, this is sport jiu-jitsu. This is only going to maybe barely help me if someone attacks me in the street. Like, I need to get into something that's going to, like, I wanted to do self-defense. And then I get into it. I'm learning, like, this motherfucker's not going to be wearing a gi when he attacks me, I mean, the best that he might have is a flannel shirt or a blazer, and then we're in business. But if he's just in, regular street clothes, then I might have a problem on my hands, and I don't want that. I think people are getting crazier nowadays. So,
This is one of the things that I say to all my clients, everyone. Like, my coach also, like, growing up, he was he taught the police, so he taught all their self-defense syllabus. So he did. So I learned quite a lot of like weapons training and self-defense stuff, which is actually going to be possibly one of my next workshops at the MMA Fitness Center. I'll do a self-defense seminar. But yeah, like you say, it's very impractical. Like, you're never going to have a guy come up to you with a gi on. And the same I see, like, whenever I watch jiu-jitsu now, I see like a lot of space where guys are like, they're in their gi and they're comfortable down with their head over the guy. It's like real life situation, you don't want to be in your back. Like, last place you want to be is on the ground. Like, fair enough, you can go down, choke a guy out, but what happens if his friend comes and kicks you in the back of the head? Like, if you're on the ground, that's far more likely. And like, when you think of it for like self-defense purposes, there is pros and cons to it, of course. Like, it's better to know it than not to know it. This is...
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's not a fix-all, but you're all right. You're a little bit better off. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I went to this different gym. I won't mention it because Slim might get mad at me. But I went to this other gym, and they were teaching like how to take a knife away or a gun away. No, it wasn't a gun. It was a knife. And I was like, man, if someone has a knife against me, I'm probably just gonna give you, what you want. It's like my life is in. Like, if my life is in danger, like, you're really going to kill me, then I'll maybe try something. Or like a gun. I tell my girlfriend about, jiu-jitsu all the time. She's like, well, what if someone has a gun against your head? I was like, well,
run.
I don't want to die. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's exactly. I'm gonna run away. No, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I know how to take a gun from somebody. Yeah, I've seen it. There was actually a YouTube video I saw. It was like they have what's called SAMmunition, and it's like a little paintball round, if you will. And they had like the mask on for protection, but they were analyzing the practicality, I guess, of some of these martial arts, and they tell you how to take a gun. You know how you kind of move out the way and you pull the gun the opposite direction or whatever it be. And
yeah, a lot of people's reactions aren't quick enough.
yeah, exactly. I was like, your reaction's not going to be quick enough to dodge that bullet, man.
Yeah, I'm like, here's my wallet. Off you go.
I'll cancel my credit cards. Matter of fact, bro, I'm broke, so you're just going to get away with my ID. I'll just get a new one. But yeah, so what kind of weapons training did you try or did you do?
I done samurai sword. So I learned the sword growing up. I done some nunchucks and bow staff. So they were like the three weapons that I learned. Obviously, haven't done them in how many, like 13, 14 years now. So don't ask me to show you anything spectacular. Like I might put my eye out now. But yeah, like done a bit of that, and then again like the taking knives off of like attackers, and I actually trained a bit of Krav Maga as well.
Krav Maga. Now, I've seen a lot of Krav Maga. What's your opinion on Krav Maga? Because I don't know much about it, but I hear mixed opinions. Oh, it's street applicable. And then, of course, whoever is teaching is always going to be biased towards that martial art. But from somebody who's trained multiple.
I think, like, Krav Maga, if you want to learn, like, self-defense, it is the best one. It is straight, like, no nonsense. Like, you get in and you do damage and you move. Like, that's it. Some of the stuff they teach is really good. Obviously, like every martial art, I wouldn't use everything from it. But, like, generally, their stuff for self-defense purposes is, like, quite, like, it's nasty stuff. Like, it's stuff that you wouldn't like. Like, it's brutal, you know? It's like kicking the nuts, poking the eye, and then run away. It works. You know?
That's pretty much, my girlfriend's asking, you know, sometimes you get these questions. I guess she thinks I'm some sort of a black belt, but I'm like, no, I'm definitely not anywhere close to that. But she'll ask me some stuff. I'm like, she's like, how do I defend against this? I was like, if you have a brick, that'll work out real nice, you know, or a rock or something, you know. Some of this stuff is pretty applicable, but even when you hear like Roger Gracie or some of these other big names, they're saying like, you know, when they went into martial arts, they've had to change their style because not all this stuff is like, you know, applicable or even street applicable, which was also, again, a misconception of mine coming into martial arts. So,
which is what I find with jiu-jitsu as well. Like, a lot of it's super good if you're competing jiu-jitsu, but once you transfer over to MMA, it's a different game. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I haven't done too much MMA. I want to get into Muay Thai. I like Muay Thai a little bit, but definitely, I don't know. I have my theories about Muay Thai too. I don't want to get beat up too bad just yet. But you have some good fighters on your team. Who's the guy with the red beard? I don't know his name.
Jason. Yeah, Jason. He's off to the Amateur World Championships in 2 weeks' time in Bahrain. Yeah, so he gets selected for the Ireland squad. He was back in Ireland over the summer, and he just went to the tryouts and he got picked for the team. So he's representing them at featherweight. Bantamweight.
Okay.
Yeah, he's representing them at bantamweight. So yeah, that'll be good. He just fought there last week. He got a controversial draw, I would say. It was a good fight. Like the guy, it was super close, but I definitely thought he won the first and third round. Second round, he might have lost it because he got taken down. So depending, like, the judges and how they score it. But it was a good fight for him. Good to learn. He's now, that's 1 year training with me, and he's had 4 fights, won 3, drew 1.
Okay.
So yeah, doing well. So he is. Hopefully, he'll fight World Championships here in November, and then maybe try and get him one more fight before the end of the year. Keep him active and then let him enjoy New Year.
Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Daniel, there's another guy, Daniel. Does he trains with you, doesn't he?
Yeah, Danny Danny trains with us as well, so he does. He had one fight with me, also won it. But then he injured himself, so he's been out injured for maybe 6 months now with a knee injury. Yeah, I mean, I had a knee injury last year and had surgery on it, and still, like, that's me just getting back to, like, feeling comfortable sparring now, you know, like, I'm still, when I'm doing my shoots and stuff like that, like double leg takedowns, I'm still super cautious with it, so.
You know, I've seen you do the wrestling double leg, or that's what I call it. I don't know what it's called. Well, there's multiple ways, I guess, to do a double leg takedown, but I really want to learn that wrestling way of that takedown. Do you have any experience of wrestling at all, or?
Yeah, so back to the training career, like the fight career. Then whenever I was 16, I learned. I'll just tell you all of it quite briefly, and then we can go back to points if we need to. At 16, then 15, I found out about MMA. My sister's husband, his best friend's cousin. Yeah, he was like a European champion, so he was. And I'd no idea what MMA was back then. And he'd started training with me at the jiu-jitsu stuff. Like, I was like 15 years old, and he was like 25, 26, and like big, like 95 kilos, like bodybuilder. And I used to say to him, I was like, oh, come down and train with me, I'll teach you how to fight. And he used to laugh because I was like this 15-year-old telling him I could teach him how to fight, you know. And you know, like, yeah, he's like, who are you? So I eventually persuaded him to come down, and he trained with me, and he was like, I just tied him in knots because obviously that's what I want to do. Like, I don't want to let a 95 kilo guy punch me, you know. So I took him down and like tied him in knots, arm bars, like guillotines, like just over and over and over again. And at that minute he got hooked. He was just like, wow. He's like, I've went all this time without actually knowing how to fight against a 15-year-old kid, you know. So so that was like an eye opener for him. And then me and him started training like 6 days a week, maybe 7 days some weeks, and within 6 months he had a pro fight and won it. So he did. So yeah, but he took me to watch Aiden fight, which is his friend's cousin, and when we watched it, I just remember, like, we sat cage, or it was in a ring, we sat ringside. And I remember watching all the fights that day, and like, he turned around to me and he looked at me and he's just like, bro, he's like, you gotta do this. He's like, you would clean up. So so then after that, the week after, we went up to a gym, which was my last fight gym that I trained at, EFR in Antrim. And I remember we trained, it was a Thursday night, was like beginner's night, so beginner to MMA, when beginner's night was okay. We went up the next week and the coach was like, oh, we're having like an in-house competition. He's like, come up, fight, and see how you do. I think I was maybe like 16 at this time. And so we went up, and it was like the weight categories was like under 70, under 80, or 90. So that was your options. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And I remember we got there, and I was like, I just put my name down for under 80 kilos. Yeah. And the coach looks at me and he's like, Davey, he's like, son, he's like, what weight are you? I was like, I'm over 70. He's like, but how much? I'm like 70.5. He's like, take your hoodie off and weigh in. So I like hoodie off and jeans off, and I was like, oh, I'm 70. And he's like, so he put me into the 70 category, and I ended up I had like 3 or 4 fights and won all of them against like grown adults. And no, maybe I was still, I can't remember. I was like 15, 16. I was still like young. Yeah.
Many years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I fought then and won all 3 fights, and the they give me like fighter of the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Nice.
yeah. So I was like super happy, and that was me hooked. So from then on, I was like constantly, like every time I got a chance to fight, I was fighting. Had a few more amateur fights, and then after I had an amateur fight, I won it in like 60 seconds or something like this on one of the shows. And I was like, after, I was still like super pumped. I'm like, I've only fought for 60 seconds. Like, what's next, And just at the end of the show, then there was like this other promotion that was on in 2 weeks' time. He's like, Merv, he's like, would you fight pro rules? Yeah, he's like, would you fight? He's like, would you fight pro rules in an 8-man tournament? I've had a guy pull out. I was like, sure, why not? Ready for it. So that was when I was 18, turned pro, and had 3. It was an 8-man tournament. And I ended up getting into the final. Won my first fight, like 44 seconds, like armbar. No, sorry, triangle. I won with a triangle in my first fight. Second fight, I won with an armbar against a guy, Junior Barata, who was like favourite to win the whole tournament. He was a Brazilian guy, black belt. He'd fought like I'm not sure if he fought UFC or if he fought a lot of UFC veterans back in the day. And I beat him in like 60 seconds with a submission as well. Yeah. So I was like going into the final like super fresh. I'd only fought like 2 minutes, and into the final ended up the guy was supposed to fight broke his hand and couldn't fight on. So I get a wild card against the guy that I beat in my first fight. So I was like, right, I beat him super easy my first fight. I was like, I'm gonna like put on a show. No, I was like, I'm going to put on a show. Okay. So for 3 rounds, I like stood toe to toe with him, punched him, kicked him, cut him up with elbows, and at the end of it, the judges, like the referee, put his hand up, and I was like, "You're kidding!" The whole place booed.
Oh, good. Yeah, you're like, yeah, I got the whole team on my side. Yeah,
everyone booed. Like, I was like,
"Oh, we got a cut." Yeah. All right. Okay, all right, we're back.
So what I was saying was, with the fight, I got beat in the final, even though I thought I won the fight, and everyone booed, but offered the guy straight away, the promoter, get in, and he was like, would you rematch him? I was like, I'll rematch him right now.
Yeah, we're still here.
We're still here. I was like, I'm ready to go. Buddy. So yeah, they offered him the rematch and he wouldn't take it. So straight out.
Yeah, he didn't want it.
Like, yeah, and I think just like shady promotions and back in the day.
Yeah, there was a couple of controversies in the UFC. I can't remember who fought, but it was something to do. Joe Rogan actually had him on his podcast. The referee, he called a bad fight or something like that, and the referee was going through like when it's time to call for a fight.
Oh, I know the fight that you're talking about. I can't remember the but it was
Robbie Lawler, wasn't it? And was it Robbie Lawler? I think it was Robbie Lawler and somebody else.
I can't remember, but he like stopped the fight, and they were like, he shouldn't have stopped it. Type thing. Yeah. Well, actually, I think refereeing is the hardest job that there is whenever it comes to
it looks very complex.
Other than the fighting, but sometimes I think I would prefer to be fighting. I was at a show there, to the show Jace fought on, and one of the referees made a bad call that night as well. Guy like hit the other guy body shot. The guy went down, and the referee stepped in as if it was over, and the guy started to celebrate. Another guy got in, and then the referee was like, "Oh, why are your cornermen in?" I thought he poked him in the eye, and he gave him ended up, this was the first round. The fight still went 3 full rounds after that.
Oh, okay, so they kept the fight going. Okay.
Yeah. So, like, basically, like, they just cost that dude a win. It went the distance. I thought he won the fight as well. And they named it a draw. It came back then, like, like 2 days later, they'd obviously reviewed the footage and they called it a no contest. So, but sucks for the guy that won the fight in the first round.
Yeah, shit happens.
Yeah, shit happens.
I mean, yeah.
It's such a tough like sport to call, especially if you're not like.
Oh yeah. Especially,
you know?
I mean, I was just listening to the referee, and he was like one of the the most popular referees that everyone knows. I don't even know the guy's name, but he was on the podcast.
Mark Goddard, was it, or Herb Dean?
Couldn't tell you. I don't know the names. If I saw his face, I'd be like, okay, that guy. But anyway, he was just talking about how he calls a fight when it's over, and he's like, if you fall back and you use your hands when you fall back to brace yourself, that means that you're still conscious.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing something to let me know that you're conscious, then I know that you're still in the fight. But it's that moment in between you losing consciousness is when I have to determine, all right, is he awake? Is he not awake? And what are his body language signs to be able to determine, which is which? And I was just like, well, I don't know, man. That sounds.
And it's hard as well because I've seen guys be like hit, knocked out, go completely limp, and a guy's hit them again and woke them up, and they've come back and won a fight. But like,
he was out.
Refereeing, like he was out. Like the ref should have stepped, but obviously just missed the eye roll, and the guy came back and ended up winning a fight with like a rear naked choke or something. The guy came down like super punching him, but refereeing, man, tough job.
Oh, I bet. I wonder. I wouldn't even do it. I'd just be like, no, man, I can't do this because it's just too much of a fine line, and all the fan hate and all that stuff. Just like, no, it just doesn't seem worth it. I wonder if they make good money. You think do referees make good money? I guess at that level you might, but
yeah, I guess at that level for sure. I'm not sure what like smaller promotions would pay referees and stuff like this. I know like small shows, it's dependent. Like you can have like an ex-fighter just referee some fights. I know that used to be popular back in the day. It was like actually a lot of the ex-fighters, they're all actually referees now, which I think's good.
That's good.
Like the guys know what they're looking for. The same, someone just told me the other day that apparently the judges in the UFC, like they aren't even fighters. Like a lot of the judges have just like done a judging course, and it's just like, how much martial arts have you done now, and how much do you still not know?
Yeah.
Like I've been doing martial arts 24, 25 years, and there's still some things that I see and I'm like, oh, I like the way that's like there's I still learn stuff,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So for someone that has no like martial arts experience to be refereeing a martial arts sport, like how does that, not referee, judging?
Yeah.
Like how are they scoring if they don't know what's going on? And it's like I just found that crazy. So I did. But that's probably why there's some fights that you're like, oh, I thought the other guy won, but they didn't. The judges just didn't know what they were looking for.
Do you have any favorite fighters?
Favorite fighters?
UFC? Are you a big UFC guy? Because there's like Bellator, and then there's like...
No, I just kind of follow... I follow the guys that I used to train with or fight with back in the Irish and British circuit. I still follow some of my old teammates. One of them's actually fighting today, Paul Hughes, and the guy had like 10 opponents pull out on him last year. Like every time, like he was like warming up or like he weighed in and the guy just didn't show up the next day, and and it's like the kid is lethal. He's like, Paul must be like 21, 22 now, and he is technically like outstanding. Like I'm actually super excited to watch his fight tonight. But yeah, he's 3-0 I think pro, and tonight I'd say he'll go 4-0 as I know his opponent just missed weight there, so I'm not sure what will happen. I'm sure it'll still go ahead no matter what. But yeah, like I'd say in the next year, like he says himself, in the next year he'd be a world champion. What promotion he'd be a world champion on, I'm not sure. But I think he's just been contracted to Cage Warriors, that's who I used to fight with before I moved to Dubai. I was contracted with Cage Warriors. So yeah, it'll be super. Like if you get a chance to look him up, Paul Hughes, like
I will.
the guy, he is unreal. Like just so technically sound all around. Like great striking game, great ground game. Like just wrestling, like everything. He's unreal. Like
I wish I would have done martial arts when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't get into it until I was an adult. And that was actually briefly after the documentary with Slim. But there's definitely something quite interesting with martial arts and stuff like that. Why did you get into it? What was the purpose of you? Did you grow up rough? Did you get into a lot of street fights, and you just like, I just want to go learn some?
No, actually the opposite. My dad grew up rough. My dad boxed, but he'd like bit of a like fighter.
Yeah.
Just like back in like years ago. So whenever I was young, he just wanted me to learn a martial art. He didn't want me to box. He wanted me to like. He knew my sensei from the same, like they were from the same village, and he'd seen him fight a few times and was just like, like he thought he was. My dad was a tough guy, but my coach was a killer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So my dad was like, right, he's like, send me there, and just that's who like groomed me sort of my whole like childhood. And then once I started MMA, then I sort of went away from that and started training like full time at the MMA club. And then the MMA club that I first went to started to go quiet. I'm not sure what went on. The coach, like there just wasn't people turning up to training, and I got offered to fight for a different gym. So they sort of sponsored me as a fighter, and I went there, and then that's where I met my Muay Thai coach and my wrestling coach. So yeah, it was good. Then I was there for like 3 or 4 years. They got me. I had my 3-4 titles with them, I think. Yeah, I had 2 Irish titles with them, and a British title, and then I got contracted to Cage Warriors. So yeah, whenever I get contracted to Cage Warriors, then I sort of went back. Then all the other guys were back to training at my original MMA gym, and the coach was back. I'm actually not quite sure what happened there, but I'd sort of got to a place where I was like, right, this is the place that's going to push me the most, because I'd like the European, like I was saying, European champions, and just some guys that were really, really, like really good and pushed me. Whereas at the other gym, I sort of felt like I was sort of like didn't have anyone that was pushing me enough, you know.
Yeah,
so I sort of felt like it sort of just came to an end, and my coach even said to me, he was like, hey, he's like, I don't mind. He's like, go train wherever you have to train. He's like, at the end of the day, it's your martial arts career. You always want to progress. Like,
I wish that mentality was still there today.
Yeah, same mentality I have with all my guys. I encourage them to go to any other classes and like learn from whoever you can, and what you can, bring it back. Well, if you like it, bring it back. We'll work it at class, and if I think it's shit, I'll say it's shit.
Yeah.
I think it's
24 years of experience, I'd be like, okay, he's got some kind of knowledgeable opinion behind it. Yeah.
But if I think it's something that I haven't seen, I'm all for that, because then if I get someone that can teach me something, again, that's good. Yeah,
I think that's. I mean, as a student of jiu-jitsu and kind of martial arts, I do some Muay Thai here and there, but I always think that's good, because I have a very small knowledge on martial arts as general. So it's always good to see a coach who's more open for me to ask, hey, what does this technique look like? Hey, I saw this. Can I try this? Can we learn this? Because some people are just like, nope, we only do a specific set of techniques. Yeah. There's no modifications. There's no easier way of doing it. Because I was doing some gi work, not too long ago, and I was like, hey, like, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm saying anyway. I was doing some gi work, and I was like, hey, well, I think this is easier. Because there was like the Berlin Bolo, if I'm saying it correctly, where you kind of have to roll on your back, and then you kind of have to do like a backflip on the mat, sort of, or a back roll, I guess you would call it, and in order to get into side control. And I was like, well, instead of rolling, why don't I just flip him to this side, and then just, I found an easier way to get into the position. And then, no, that was, we do it a specific way. And then we go, after we learn it the specific way, then we can work on the modifications, stuff like that. And I was like, oh, sometimes not all these things work so easier for everyone. You know, I have a very set of different game plan because I'm a bit longer than some of my people, so I'm more capable of doing other things versus other people with, you know, shorter limbs or different styles. So,
well, my thought on that is, like, no matter where I am, if a coach shows me, like, if I go to a class somewhere else and a coach shows me a way to do something, and it isn't the way I would do it, I still do it the way that the coach wants, because it's like a respect thing, you know?
Yeah.
And you don't want to seem like you've got too big of an ego.
No,
so it's always good to try it, and, like, sometimes I've been to classes, I've done things, and I've really enjoyed doing it. But then whenever it comes to the grappling at the end, I still do it my way because it works better. Yeah. Or, you know, like you say with your turn, if you find that way works better for you, don't do it the other way. Do it the way that works for you.
Yeah,
but I do say, like, I'm like supporting, like, do train what the coach tells you. Of course. Like, there's a reason why he's saying it, and maybe today it doesn't feel like it works for you, but maybe you'll do it 100 times and it still don't feel like it works for you. But by the time you hit that 1,000 times, and then you do it and it's like it just clicks, and you're like, that's why he told me to do it that way, you know.
There's definitely been some warm-ups that we do, like some of the rolling stuff like that, and I'm like, how is this gonna help me at all? And then as I progress a little bit, I'm like, okay, now I kind of see it. Now I'm a bit more fluid with this particular kind of technique. I can kind of feel that. But the only thing is, we're not allowed to do heel hooks, which I'm kind of disappointed in. But I do them anyway. This
is one of the things, like, everyone always says to me, they're like, Merv, why don't you go and get graded in BJJ and fight in BJJ? Like, I'd fight in BJJ no problem if they let me heel hook them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like John Donahar, he put it to perfect. He's like, why forget about 50%
of the body?
Yeah. I was like, that's the best way to put it. Why not? Leg locks, heel hooks, they all work. Let's do them.
And then I also don't have, like, the whole ego thing of, like, I'm a black belt, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like I need to be graded in something to, like, represent how good of a fighter or ground fighter I am. Like, I feel like I'm very competent in the ground.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I've been doing it 24
I
years.
I would have a pretty good opinion.
But, like, sometimes I go to, like, a jiu-jitsu class and they're just like, they don't see the 24 years of experience. They just say, he's not graded in jiu-jitsu. So it's like, you know, it's a little close-minded that way, I find sometimes. I love the Eddie Bravo stuff, the rubber guard.
Yes.
I've trained quite a lot of it with my last coach. Like, I spent like 2-3 years like just drilling rubber guard stuff. And I actually teach it to some of my private clients, work a lot of it. Like Layla that comes to class, she's very good at the rubber guard stuff. So yeah, I love it, and I love what, like, Eddie Bravo and 10th Planet are doing with the whole jiu-jitsu side of things, and like doing a lot more of the no-gi stuff.
That's good that you brought that up, because I want to learn rubber guard. I want to see what that's about. I'm not quite that flexible just yet, but it definitely looks interesting.
So rubber guard seminar as well then?
Yeah.
So I'm getting my list filled here. I'm getting what is it? Self-defense seminar, rubber guard seminar,
samurai swords.
Samurai sword seminar.
Let's have a full battle. I'll film it. I'll be there to film it.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely I've always seen, like, you know, the rubber guard and stuff like that. I saw the podcast on, of course, Joe Rogan, where he was showing Hickson Gracie the rubber guard, and so I was like, okay, this is some interesting stuff.
Yeah, it's crazy, like how much it just, like, controls the body, you know, and like,
pulls like that.
You're like stuck
leg behind the neck, and I'm like, I don't know anything about rubber guards.
Rubber guard and twisters, like,
see, I don't even, what's a twister? I don't even know what a twister is.
Twisters, like, you like lock up a leg and then you go up and it's like a spine attack. So it is. So a lot of jiu-jitsu competitions don't allow it. MMA generally professional, you're allowed it. Jiu-jitsu, I'm sure, like the no-gi, like the naga and stuff like that, it's all like they allow it because it's a big part of the 10th Planet guys, they do a lot of twister stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like you can do it from so many positions. You can do it from top, you can do it from bottom, you can do it from if someone has you in scarf.
Okay, yeah.
Like I find it even if I don't, like, even just the lockdown with the legs for that same position, like I'll use it if I'm in half guard, you know, to sweep someone, or I'll go to like electric chair. I'm saying random stuff here. You probably have no idea what.
Some of it I'm following. Yeah, it's like I've heard the names before, but it's when I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, I know what that is.
Yeah,
I don't probably know how to do it, but yeah, but man, that I did your class for the first time. I've actually been wanting to do your class because I found out that it was more like MMA based, and for me, that's That's pretty much it's. Would you agree that it's more street applicable?
Yeah, this is what I tell all my guys. Like, MMA is like the most
street like thing to a street fight. Yeah.
You're not wearing a gi or like you've nothing to grab onto. It's literally just like you and the other dude. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's what I've been wanting to do. Class.
Yeah, and I do quite a lot of stuff up against the cage, which can work.
Against a car or something.
Against a car or against a, like if someone's got you up against a wall. Mm-hmm. Same type of idea. Some of the stand-up stuff I do, like, sorry, not stand-up, but get them from the ground back up to your feet is like way different than what you would do in Jiu-Jitsu. Mm-hmm. So everything pros and cons, but for me, like once I found out MMA and like went down that path, for me that's just like it is it's the best thing and it's the most relevant thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, since starting jiu-jitsu, I'm about a year and a half in right now. Yeah. So I mean, just the more that I do it and the more that I'm aware of it now. Yeah. Because it's now part of my life. I'm just kind of like, man, there's so much more that I just want to learn. I want to learn the rubber guard. I want to learn how to punch this motherfucker in the face and then armbar him. You know what I'm saying? Because I just think that the world nowadays is crazy, and I think martial arts just has to be a part of my life. I mean, all the time you're turning on the news, somebody got robbed, somebody got shot or beat up, and I'm like, you never know.
Don't want to be that guy.
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be embarrassed if I'm walking down the street.
And also, if there's a zombie apocalypse, you got to be ready.
That's the biggest thing. I've already planned out what I'm going to do. Yeah. I'll be like, first of all, I'm staying inside for at least 2 weeks because the panic's going to kill everyone. All right? The panic's going to kill everyone at first. Yeah. And then after that, I'll go playing around. Yeah. You know, maybe save my girlfriend. I don't know. She might be dead by then, but who knows?
Get some use out of your samurai sword.
Yeah, I'll definitely get a samurai sword. See, that would be bad.
And then you'd be like, damn, I'm so glad I done that samurai sword workshop.
Thanks to Merv. Thank you, Merv. Yeah, I definitely survived this because of that samurai sword. Samurai. We got 1 minute left. What time is it? 4:29. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thanks, Merv, for coming on. Tell them real quick about your seminar and other things coming up.
Yeah, so the seminar coming up, I'm just doing like a leg lock. Mostly going to be like emphasizing the heel hooks and toe holds, stuff like this. And it is on the 23rd of November, 2:30 p.m. to 4:30. And then we'll take a half an hour break, and then we'll have the sparring class at 5 to 6. So anyone that wants to come and learn some leg locks, it'll be at the MMA Fitness Center in Barsha. Okay. And it is 200 dirhams.
200 dirhams.
For 2 hours of leg locks plus an hour of sparring.
Oh, so, that's a good deal. Good deal.
Good deal.
Yeah. And tell them where they can contact you if they want like personal training or anything.
Yeah, anyone wanting personal training, you can find me on Instagram, just at Merv_MMA. And it's Merv, MERV _MMA. Nice and simple.
All right. Okay. All right. That's it. All right. Thanks again, Merv.
Yeah.
And I'll see you in class later.
Cheers, man.
Huh?
You don't want to plug in anyone?
No, that was it.